What's up, guys? My name is George Brooks, one of the founders at Crema.
And I'm Matt Cole, the technical director at Crema.
We thought we'd talk a little bit today about a few ways to determine what kind of developer you want to be, what technologies you need to learn, and maybe some ways to learn those technologies. Are there different types of developers?
For sure. So you can kind of think of it in three main categories, right? So you have what's called a front-end developer. That's somebody who's going to focus more on the user interface part of the application, right? So what the user is actually interacting with on the browser or the mobile application. And then for that stuff to work, you've got to have it interact with data, and that's where what's called the back end takes place. So this is where we're taking in data that a user might input on a screen, saving it to a database somewhere, and so that's back-end development. And then the third and final type would be what you should call sort of a full-stack developer, and that's somebody who probably has some experience, and they have experience with both front-end and back-end, and can basically create a full-blown application on their own.
And maybe there isn't a right or wrong here, but where do you think that most people start, or where's the least barrier to entry to get into just starting to learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are probably these days starting with front-end development. Mm-hmm. There's actually a lot of different layers of front-end development where you can talk about a website or you can talk about a web app.
Yeah.
And both of those are going to use HTML and CSS. That's a given. You're going to have to learn that for front-end development regardless. Where it gets a little more complicated is when you have a lot of interactions happening on the browser and a lot of things that you have to work with. And that's where an application developer comes in handy, and you're going to want to learn JavaScript. Tons of different JavaScript languages and frameworks. I mean, it's the Wild West out there with JavaScript. Just to name a few, there's things like Angular, and there's things like React. And then on the website side of things, I mean, there's still some JavaScript that happens. So a lot of people might be familiar with WordPress.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to start developing.
That's how I learned, honestly.
You can really start to get a feel for the actions that you perform on code makes an output on the screen for you that changes things. And it's a good way to just sort of experiment a little bit.
You already mentioned React and Angular. What does React and Angular talk to? What does it connect to when we start thinking about back-end development?
So there's practically an unlimited number of languages to choose from when we're talking about back-end. A lot of the good options are Ruby on Rails, which is something that we use at Crema a lot. Python Django, so Python's the language and Django's kind of the framework behind it. It's a lot like Ruby on Rails. And then there's also JavaScript. Node, you might be familiar with Node. You may have heard that kind of knocked around. There's tons of different frameworks that are built on top of Node, and we use some of those. Where
would someone get started if they wanted to start learning any of these things?
There's tons of different sites out there that will give you tutorials, walk you through examples. Treehouse is one of those.
Yep.
Code Academy. Khan Academy is actually a good one as well that will teach you anything, but specifically it'll teach you some
It'll also teach my third grader how to do basic math.
Exactly. Not to mention documentation on the languages themselves. There's tons of places to go for that. And then if you get stuck somewhere along the way, Stack Overflow is our best friend.
Stack Overflow, right. So to recap real quick, if you're getting into development, or let's say if you want to get into development, you don't have any experience, you've never touched a line of code before, it's not too late. Doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, it is very easy to get into this industry because there's a lot of, honestly, free or available resources for you to get in and learn. If you want to be a front-end developer, learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you want to be a back-end developer, really focus into learning things like Ruby on Rails, Node, Python. If you want to be a full stack developer, spend some time to learn it all. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like our videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you share this with someone who maybe is trying to get into it. You got that nephew that just sits on the couch too much playing video games, or the weird uncle that, no, I'm just kidding. Just share with whoever you want as far as someone who's looking to get into this industry. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.